So yeah, it's been a year, huh? To be honest, I didn't know that it was gonna be it's gonna last a year. First of all, I did not know that I was gonna do this for a year rather than doing it for 6 months and then going on with my life. But wow, 1 year later, and all of a sudden I have 1,000 views, which is great. 20 videos, which is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this is a great anniversary, I should say at least. So yeah, the game that you're seeing right now in the background is Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number. I was playing it 2, 3 years ago, and then life happened, and now I was replaying it, and I forgot how fun it is murdering people in this pixelated overhead type of environment. And yeah, I mean, great game. Pick it up, check it out. And yeah, so first off, I want to say a few thanks to get out of the system. And the biggest thank you I will give out is to my main man, Ordinate, or Ord, or whatever you like to be called nowadays. He is the person who does the music for the opening scene and also for the closing scene. And if you check out his Battle of the Bits or his what's it called? SoundCloud? Yeah, his SoundCloud. He actually does a pretty good job. I mean, way better than me, because the story was one day he actually showed me his his music profile, and I was like, oh man, this is pretty good. And I struck the idea of, hey, if I do my own shit, can I use your music as my in part of my videos or this project? And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever, casually saying that. And he thought I was not gonna do anything special with his music. But I showed him a few of my videos using his music, and he was surprised. So yeah, Ordinate, if you're watching this video, you're the real MVP, and that's all I can say to you. You're the real MVP. You thanked me a lot. I mean, well, you helped me a lot, and I thank you deeply. Also, I understand like this video is mostly off the cuff, and it's true, because most of the times when I make my video, I always write out what I say, and then make it clear rather than just going like I'm saying before, like off the cuff. So if I sound more lost than I am, then it's because I don't have a script with me. I'm just freeballing here. And I want to thank the what's it called, the viewers. Yeah, the viewers, and also the followers on VidMe. Not so much on YouTube, but hey, I really don't care as long as people view the video and discuss it, or at least just watch the videos that I make. It's all that I care about. Other than that, I mean, thanks you guys for watching a year. Well, basically a year with me. To be honest, like I said, I wasn't gonna be surprised if I was gonna reach 1,000, because most of my videos are mostly shit. To be honest, but sometimes simple is somewhat better. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, so now I want to discuss the videos. The top 5 documentaries that I enjoyed the most. Like, I could rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it without getting tired or being sick of it. And the fifth, or no particular order as well. And one of them is an alternative reality, the Football Manager story. Oh man, what can I say about this documentary? This documentary is basically the version of an addict's fix. It's like when you went to an AA meeting and all of a sudden you see a pint of beer at the local pub, and each second of your life is just telling you not to drink it, not to drink it, and all of a sudden you just drank a keg full of it. And this is what the this documentary is. It's like a trigger effect to replay Football Manager. And if you not know what Football Manager is, it's basically it's not an interactive game, more like you click on the players that you want on your team, and then afterwards you watch it. It's what the name stands, Football Manager. You manage your own team, and it's addicting. It's an addicting game, and in this documentary will relapse it. And like I said, it's pretty fun. It's mostly for that quirky type of a fan that like plays it 24/7, and this documentary fuels it even more. And that's what I liked about it. It's a little bit passionate. It also is a video game documentary, and there's a decent amount of good documentaries from the whole video game genre, or the whole video game idea. Some of them are good, some of them are just plain shit, but this one is actually pretty good on my terms, and I highly recommend it if you're a big fan of Football Manager, B, you want to get into the game, or C, basically a casual player or no one, or a person who doesn't know what the hell is that game, and you just like to see people really, really passionate about it, and that's what's so great about it. The fourth one, I would say, yes, Meet the Falcons. Despite the many hate towards this documentary, especially watching older folks getting a little bit frisky now and then. Now this documentary, it's really heart touching. You have these two twins who, in their mid-20s or mid-30s, got into the brothel scene. And ever since, they were working in the brothel just to make ends meet, or to at least provide for their daughters or sons. And especially this one scene when one of the twins actually, was having a face-to-face talk with her legitimate daughter. And to me, it felt a little bit odd, because you have a mother who has a very dark past, and a mother who has a very dark past, and then the daughter all of a sudden, and then the daughter who knows that her mother was a whore, and they're just basically having a casual conversation. If you've seen this in the United States, this wouldn't even fly one bit, but the way that these two people are interacting with each other, it feels like a normal conversation to them. And this is what I like the most about it. Yes, despite seeing basically softcore old people porno, this is not like a snuff film. It's mostly just telling the tales of two old ladies who had a very, very extensive history, who especially in the Netherlands, where where the brothel scene is just a normal day-to-day basics. And I also like to thank my two friends from the Netherlands who actually kind of helped me with this video, especially the one, if you've seen the review, there's one from who now lives in Os. He used to live in Den Bosch, but he's a fan of Doc Breda. Yeah, is a tongue twister. that he actually grew up in Amsterdam, so he actually knows what's the red light district is, and he actually visited a few times. But it's not like what he told me is that the red light district for the Netherlands is just a tourist attraction. It's not something that you see a regular citizen from Amsterdam or even from the Netherlands just going at it. It's mostly for regular idiots like us who thinks that, oh, the Netherlands is just full of pot, boats, and hoes. and and to me that's what I feel like. But overall, this documentary kind of opened my eyes a little bit on how the brothel scene actually worked, because for me I thought it was just, oh, you just go in and fuck a random girl and go on with your tourist life. But in reality, it's a little bit different, and that's what I like about this documentary. Um, the third best, I would say, Rewind This. Um, Rewind This, yeah, Rewind This. It's a very, interactive documentary for me because it has two factors: the nostalgic factor and the weird factor. The nostalgic factor was basically using using VHS and VHS player when you were young. Never had a DVD player after middle school, and that was like what, 2008, 2009, somewhere in the ballpark. And most of the time before I got a DVD player, I was using only VHS, and that's what the nostalgic part appealed to me on this documentary. The weird factor was learning all these B-roll, C-roll, whatever roll movies that they released during the VHS boom, and especially all these people who are very, very passionate about finding the weirdest of the weirdest videos, and having it in their collections, telling everybody, hey, I own this, it makes me cool. It kind of goes with the vinyl scene because I kind of have a few vinyls in my crate, and I just collect the weirdest of the weirdest because it's more like a treasure hunt for me. Da 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 da. And yeah, I mean, collecting vinyl is the same as collecting VHS. Only one of them is for audio, and the other one is for the viewing pleasure. And that's what I liked about this documentary. Is mostly A, for the nostalgic trip, and B is for it's basically for finding the weirdest videos, so one day you can check it out and show it to your friends while you're very, very wasted. And also, what was interesting about this documentary was the appearance of one of the co-creators of Everything Is Terrible. And sure, they kind of went a little bit off topic by talking about how the internet is quote unquote ruining the underground movie scene. But in reality, who cares? I mean, actually, for me, the internet was basically a beneficiary for finding all these weird weird movies, and most of them were making like a little bit of a big deal about it. But in reality, it's actually helping a lot. It makes the community grow bigger and bigger. And overall, I would recommend this documentary with a full-on erection, because, like I said, if you like the weird factor or the nostalgic factor, then this is the hands down documentary that you want to watch with your friends or alone. Might as well watch it alone rather with your friends, because if they're not weird, or if they're not weird like you, then it's a complete mess. I think we're number 2. And for number 2, I would like to say Senna. Oh man. Senna was a Brazilian F1 driver who won 2 or 3 F1 cups, if I believe. That they're not called cups, they're called trophies. Somewhere in the ballpark. Correct me if I'm wrong, F1 enthusiast. I'm just a casual watcher. And yeah, this documentary follows the career, not his not his biography, more like his career biography of how he started in the go-kart racing scene all the way to what is known now as his F1 scene, especially building a rival between Alain Prost from France and basically being frenemies at one point because they were actually competing. They were actually in the same team, but they had different like different standards on how to race, if that could be more descriptive. And and yeah, Senna's life was cut short due to a it was due to an accident that happened in Sydney, so in Australia. It was due to the part that since Schumacher came to the scene, and also new technology came in the scene. It was basically most of the drivers was just testing the waters on what type of how does the technology on the F1 cars would would handle in the track, not only in the track but also the driver itself, because they're also learning a new way to drive rather than learning the old ways. So that was the one factor that ended Senna's career as an F1 and landed him in the grave. But this documentary was actually sorry, this documentary was actually pretty great to watch. Even though if you had a nostalgic trip for the old 80s and 90s F1, if most people grew up in that type of era of of being an F1 enthusiast, it was one of those golden heydays because you actually saw Schumacher develop as one of the greatest drivers in that era. And not only that, you also saw new changes across, throughout the years, with technology being more improved and the tracks um, being a little bit more safer, and also the politics towards the FIA being a little bit more uh, basically changing throughout the years. And this documentary I recommend the most. It also not only brings the nostalgic factor, but the also the feeling factor, because you feel uh, in 1 minute you feel very excited, like on the edge of your seat, if the race is going to become a close finish, or he's going to win it by a mile. Then it turns to like this happiness montage where everything is good. Like you see Santa having like a good time, and you want to feel like you're having a good time as well. And then all of a sudden it just comes down to this bitter sadness that you see a bunch of crime in Brazil, or you're seeing how Senna tragically dies while everybody around them had the world rocked due to this incident. And and this one I actually recommend a lot. So F1 fans or Brazilian nuts, this documentary is for you. And the last documentary that I had the most fun watching and would watch over and over and over and over again is a band called Death. A band called Death. Okay, let's go down to the history. So Death, a proto-punk band from Detroit, basically born during the late 70s, early 80s, and they're basically somewhat considered the father of punk as we know today. So basically, you thought the Ramones were the first ever punk rock band, or if you thought that Bad Brains were the first African American punk rock band. they never heard of death, and how they play their music, and how they they also intertwine a little bit of Motown. They had, well, basically they were inspired by Motown, but really they were just playing angry, fast type of riff that back in the day it was considered like the devil's music. Not only that, and they're also black, so playing that type of fast music while playing white boy music was considered like the ultimate taboo, because the influence that they grew around them was mostly Motown, a little bit of blues, a little bit of funk. It was like upbeat. Oh my bad. I had tea the other like not too long ago, but sorry, I'm just like burping. And the music they were listening was like basically upbeat. It felt happy, but when they start playing their music, all of a sudden the mood changed, and and everybody hated what they played. So so this documentary is really fun to watch, because for a band that were way ahead of their time, they couldn't grasp it. They couldn't make it seem a revolutionary type of sound. Rather than being credited for, they were just shunned away and kept in the dark, while the other bands actually bask in the glory, and are being known worldwide, rather than being tucked away in history. And that's what and that's what death is. They were too early for that boom, and yet too late to be recognized, because ever since one of the family members actually found out the master copies and actually being released on the internet, all of a sudden they were now considered hot topic, and now it's like, oh, it's a little bit too late now, because that boom, that punk rock move, the hardcore scene, as you will, went away, and nobody cares about it now. So they kind of failed to grasp those during those times. But once you watch this documentary, it feels like they deserve it, and that's what I recommended. They deserve that little spotlight. They deserve it, because what they did before, they were, when they were young, it was mostly revolutionary, and now we just appreciate it, rather than brushing it off, and so on and so forth. And yeah, this documentary, A Band Called Death, I recommend it full on. You're gonna have a fun time, and also most of the stereotypical thoughts that you might have might be a little bit altered, because first of all, they don't act like any rocker would. Then again, they're all old, but before that, they were basically regular people. They didn't act weird whatsoever, and they don't act street or ghetto as you may think of it. They act normal, rather than yeah, even though they're black or African American, or however you like to pronounce them, they don't act very, very ghetto. They just act normal, and it's kind of weird. But over that, I recommend this documentary, because it's actually really fun. It's fun to watch, and you learn a little bit, little by little. And now, shifting topic from the best, the worst, or not the worst, basically the worst / didn't give a fuck, or I just did it cause, and it was mostly a pain. The top 5 in no particular order, and number 5 for the meh, basically the meh, was The Island President. In all honesty, the first when I first watched this documentary, I fully watched it and I pay attention to it for 2 hours. But after I revisited this documentary and at least tried to had my eyes open, it felt like here's the thing. This is one of the type of documentaries that you watch it for 3 or 4 times and you forget what happens. That's the whole thing. This documentary felt bland, even though it had a purpose to fulfill, describing a small nation going under, and this one president is doing all he can do in order to give at least a little bit of just at least teaching the outside world what's happening to his beloved country, and and to me, I think the what's it called, the director kind of did a good job. Then again, he didn't do a great job explaining it. Don't get me wrong. The ex president of the Maldives, actually did a great job explaining his cause. It's just the director kind of loosely explained it. Yeah, let's go with that. And this documentary kind of felt flat. But yeah, if only the director did a good job about this, then this documentary will be well received and mostly remembered or being used more as a learning tool. But other than that, it just felt flat. Felt flat, didn't have no soul into it, and that's why it plays on number five. The number four, I would say, I had to get number four, the Lost for Life, the recent one that I released almost a month ago, and the Lost for Life. Oh, sorry, that's my chair. The Lost for Life was not a groundbreaking documentary, nor was it a snores fest. It was one of those documentaries that you only watch it once, and you're lucky enough if you watch it twice. It kind of did a good job explaining its purpose. Basically, kids who were given a grown-up sentence rather than facing the juvie system, and then 3 or 4 years later they tried to appeal rather than putting the kid on the slammer, right off the back. And actually explained very well. It's just that it was mostly editing errors, and also not making sense a little bit, to the point that as long as you watch it the first time, you're good, and if you watch it the second time, it's just you have to put a lot of effort just to remember the smallest details. That's basically it. And overall, I mean, this documentary wasn't bad. It is a crowd-funded documentary film, so I'm not expecting a wow factor. Like, I'm blown away because it was a Kickstarter documentary. But other than that, I wish the director did a better job explaining, or at least put more emphasis on his topic, rather than relying on his I don't know, not relying on something, but rather putting faith on the subject. Sure, putting kids on jail. Putting kids on jail is pretty harsh on American terms, but you should have done it a little bit better. But other than that, if you've seen it once, then it's good that you've seen it once. If you've seen it twice, then I will give you a medal. If you've seen it 3 times, may God have mercy on you. Because this thing falls flat. It does its job. It does its job minimal. But other than that, I wouldn't watch it for another 4th time. That's just considered suicidal. That's the first, second, yeah, the third documentary that was a man. It's something that I did not. It's not like did not enjoy. It's just that it just felt flat. Was the what's it called? Witch Hunt review. Yeah, Witch Hunt basically narrated by Sean Penn. He created the what's it called? The El Chapo documentary. uh, that kind of makes me laugh a little bit, but yeah, it's basically about this big ass scandal between basically it was the Cry Wolf incident. There basically this I should stop saying basically. It started back in the 80s when three kids mistakenly put a claim that they were being molested inside this little town, and then the whole entire citizen of those town in that town started to find who was the culprit, and sooner or later, multiple what's it called cases were also sprung up in that city because there's another molester here, there's another molester there, there's another molester 3 blocks down, and everybody was trying to chase who was who in order to protect their kids. But in all honesty, those claims never happened. They were falsely made up. So all these adults who were wrongly accused basically had their family torn apart, their reputation in the community tarnished, and their lives being turned upside down because one false accusation was actually the drastic measure between their life being over. And overall, I mean, this it didn't feel like, it just felt odd to watching it. It wasn't one of those documentaries that, I enjoyed it, but no. It kind of felt odd, yet I've kind of felt discomfort because it just just watching this kind of make me feel like, I shouldn't have kids. Imagine if my kids kind of did that to me. It's that type of cautionary tale type of factor. And I to be honest, I didn't enjoy this. It was just documentary that I had on my DVD rack, and that's about it. But recommending it, I guess if you like to scare your own self, because that's what that's what happened to me. I got scared watching this and thinking I'm not gonna have kids. I'm not gonna have kids in general, because if they're gonna pull that shit on me, then I'm completely fucked. So yeah, Witch Hunt, an okay film. Sean Penn, crazy. What else is new? So that's Witch Hunt. The fourth one, it's really not a man. It's just that it was mostly something. Yeah, it's a something. It's something. It's and the documentary that's basically something is Love Child. Love Child, I enjoyed the one bit. I just enjoyed the technological side in South Korea, how they take how they take the technology into their lives rather than being a necessity. They integrate it with their life actually. And in this documentary, basically, God damn it, I should stop saying that word. But the quick review about this one is two couples who are really addicted to online video games had a daughter, and they let the daughter die because they were addicted to video games. And then the what's it called? The South Korean government were now doing experimental tests to see if being addicted to video games was can also be linked in with, or I mean, can also be classified as gambling, drinking, or drugs usage. And it's mostly like a debate, like a battle. I mean, not battle, debates type of factor. And I mean, I guess I know. I guess what the director was trying to do was give a little bit more of a shining light towards online gaming and the effects of the brain, but in reality, it just felt that, oh, if an American watched this documentary, it kind of feels like the Grand Theft Auto type of days where Grand Theft Auto was being a big old controversy towards the way of life. But in reality, now everybody plays Grand Theft Auto, so who gives a shit? And that's what basically is for me, because Love Child kind of felt like what's the other documentary called? Web Junkies. There we go. Yes, Web Junkies. And if comparison with Web Junkies and Love Child, Web Junkies beats Love Child's ass by a mile. That's basically a good description about this. Love Child is basically the softcore porno, while Web Junkies is the hardcore, no holds bar, no safety word type of porno. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty good to watch for a good hour. For the first time, but then the second time just feels weird, because the second time feels like everything is forced down your throat, and you expect it to be thrown up back. So yeah, I mean, Love Child, good film, not so great. They don't describe the problem great. It's just the movie that happened. And finally, I'm gonna have fun with this one. The last documentary is Beware the Slender Man. Oh man, what a fucking train wreck that was. I mean, this documentary was the worst of the worst that I viewed this year, and this is the only movie that I actually yelled at my screen, and every single 5 seconds I had to skip over and over. I had to skip most of the scene because it felt cringeworthy or barely watchable. So the quick review of this documentary is two girls believing in this internet meme, I should say. Yeah, Slender is a meme, right? And all of a sudden they stab their best friend in the woods to please this fictional character. And then everything goes to shit because now they're describing him as the 21st century boogeyman, and how kids who never heard of these mythical creatures now all of a sudden they're integrating internet culture with something that they can't understand. And honestly, this movie was a pile of garbage. That's all I can say. It's like you were just watching garbage for the whole 2 hours of your life, because this thing goes in complete circle. It doesn't have an endpoint. It really doesn't. We don't know if. Well, basically, we do know that this movie was released 2-3 months prior to the girl's appeal. So that was kind of crafty by HBO to release this, so I guess the jury can feel sorry for these girls. But then again, I mean, they're just talking about how Slender Man is this mythical creature that we should give our full attention to, even though this creepypasta is not relevant whatsoever anymore. So you basically did a documentary over an internet topic that nobody cares anymore, and that's how you're trying to describe this. And honestly, yeah, I mean, you just wasted $1 million to describe a dead meme. Congratulations. what are you trying to get out of this? And sure, I mean, I do like the one thing redeemable of this documentary was the jury scenes, the court scenes. That's the true human condition being portrayed. But other than that, you're just describing a dead meme. For what purpose? So yeah, I'm not planning to watch this again. I might watch it if I'm extremely hammered. But other than that, this documentary deserves no love whatsoever. So those basically are my top 5 loves and top 5 mess. And now the future of this channel, I think this channel is going great so far. I'm just doing either quick reviews or semi-long reviews, which is good. Planning in the future more reviews, and also I'm thinking of comparison. I have 3 documentaries that I want to compare and contrast, and that might be a 3-parter. So I'm thinking of the first part is the likeness, the second part is the differences, and then the third part is the conclusion. And during the conclusion, I would say which one should you watch in order, and then afterwards you decide whatsoever. But other than that, I mean, I'm trying to take it easy. Even though I'm not putting a lot of content as I used to, it's really cool because people are still watching it, of which I'm really surprised. But yeah, I mean, overall, let's see what the year 2 is. Year 2 will take us. So yeah, until then, thanks again, everybody, for wow, my voice is going to shit. But yeah, thank you every viewer who watched most of my videos. Thank you for the followers on VidMe. Thank you for the 1 subscriber on YouTube. Other than that, yeah, thank you. And man, this tea is really fucking me up. Yeah, until then, yeah, we'll meet again. That's all. Bye bye.